What's going on, everyone? With year 11 of Smite bringing all types of new mechanics and gimmicks, I thought I'd make a small update on some of the notable changes that will be affecting our favorite game mode, Joust. So let's get right into it. First and most importantly, Joust is returning to the Jade Corruption map, or better known as the Season 7 map. And hopefully we stick to this map for the foreseeable future, as if you guys don't already know my opinion, this map has way more to offer for Joust than the one we are currently on. With it being a bigger map, having more XP and buff camps, and having a more intricate jungle, these are just some examples of what makes this map better. And with that, one change that they're bringing over to this map is that the camp on the Bull Demon King side will now be replaced with the attack speed buff camp they introduced in Season 10, which should allow for more skirmishes over important neutral buff camps. Other than that, everything else they changed in Season 10 for Joust will stay the same when we hop over to the Jade Corruption map in the coming week. Another change year 11 is bringing is the Scepter, which if you weren't here for in the past, it's basically an ally attached to you that you do passive damage with when you get close to enemies. Now this was a controversial addition to the game due to the previous ways of obtaining it, but Hi-Rez has implemented a celestial comet, where starting at 90 seconds into the game, a comet will crash down in a lane, allowing players to damage it, and upon destroying it, will leave a scepter for a player to pick up. And this is coming to every single game mode including Joust. After all tier 1 towers have been destroyed, the comets will stop spawning. Now in my opinion, I think with the Scepter doing passive damage to enemies that are close, tanks are most likely going to be picking this one up, as they are going to be the ones initiating and peeling, meaning they're going to be the closest to the enemies. However, the closest player to the Scepter will be the one that most likely grabs it, so that the enemy doesn't have a chance to grab it themselves. Additionally, with this comet being a pseudo objective, you can kinda expect that there's going to be a lot more fighting around this comet. Moving on, recipes are no longer in the game, and are being replaced with 3 different shards. Golden Shard being the equivalent to Golden Gooseberries, Sturdy Shard being equivalent to Sturdy Stew, and Vibrant Shard being equivalent to Party Punch. These shards are going to passively replace the current shards that we have right now, meaning you will not need to activate it for the shard to work. It'll work passively as you play. Now for Joust, Golden Shard is going to be always bought on a Hunter, Sturdy Stew will always be bought on your Guardian, and as far as the Vibrant Shard is concerned, I'm going to predict that this will be bought on your Assassins, Warriors, and Mages, generally speaking. Now there are a lot of changes that are coming to the Relic system in Smite, with some of them being combined and some of them being completely removed. I'm going to quickly go over the more notable ones for simplicity. Horrific Emblem is now getting its attack speed slow removed, and instead is being combined with Cursed Ankh, as it gives you enemy healing reduction and enemy shield effectiveness. So try to remember this information as it's a big change. And they're adding another relic called Divine Barrier, which basically deploys a 40 unit wall that reduces the damage of basic attacks, and enemies who move through it get slowed. And the upgraded version gives you increased damage similar to a Thoth wall. This relic is going to be something you're going to want to pay attention to, as this has a lot of potential for sieging and anti-sieging, especially in Joust, as this game mode is super linear, with the Phoenix arguably being more important than in Conquest, as you have 1 instead of 3. So this might be a really good pickup for defending or even sieging, as you could place it down in front of your team, allowing for your siege to be that much easier. Very briefly, they added 2 new wards with Raven Ward and Proximity Ward, with Proximity Ward having a gimmick that allows for an explosion to enemies if they get too close, which makes enemies revealed for 10 seconds and slowing them for 3 seconds. This will be an interesting ward that could come in handy in specific situations, but in my opinion, the more important ward here is the Raven Ward, which basically throws out a surveillance sweep that flies over a 500 unit line, allowing you to see enemy movements within 50 units, and will have a huge impact in Joust specifically over Bull Demon, as Joust is a pretty small map compared to Conquest. So I'm predicting this will be a huge ward to pick up in Joust if you want a quick way to see if the enemy is at the Bull Demon. Another update they're bringing is some lifesteal changes, making lifesteal sustain a lot harder to get from minions and buff camps, while making sustain from hitting enemy gods a lot easier, meaning items like Aussie on Hunters and Bancroft's Talon are a lot better. So if you are a tank or an assassin trying to 1v1 a Hunter with Aussie passive active, good luck, as they're going to be sustaining a lot more lifesteal when autoing you. So this is a direct buff to Hunters in my opinion. However, sustaining off of wave will be a lot harder, so there is also a caveat here. And with that, they're adding some new items along with reviving a few items as well. First up we have is Crimson Claws, which is basically a better version of Deadbolt Gauntlet in my opinion, as it gives 50 power, 20% attack speed, 15 lifesteal, and an insane passive giving upwards of 15% of your maximum health as shields, if you are full health. Now keep in mind, this doesn't need to be stacked either, so expect to see this a lot more on your hunters. Additionally, they're reworking Rejuvenating Heart to a lifesteal item for magical gods, now giving it power, health, mana, lifesteal, and a passive that gives your allies a heal, very similar to a Hades 3, which is pretty insane for gods like Anubis and Hades. So if you're not already picking up lifesteal for these gods, you better be now. And finally, the most important in my opinion, they are bringing back Void Shield, Void Stone, or known as Void Damaru, and Blackthorn Hammer. With Void Shield giving you physical protections, health, HP 5, and a really good passive that reduces physical protections by 10%. Similarly, Void Damaru is going to be giving you magical protections, health, NP 5, and 20% CCR, and a similar passive that reduces magical protections by 10% as well. And these items are going to make tanks and hybrid gods that much better. But I believe warriors will benefit more off these items, as this will allow them to do more damage to the backline gods, which warriors are best known for, basically getting a 10% pen buff with a defense item. And finally, we have Blackthorn Hammer, giving you physical power, health, mana, and a passive either giving you 10% CDR or 50 NP5 depending on your total mana. And this item in the past has plagued the Joust meta as being one of the most busted early game items on warriors and assassins. And I think we will return to this as it's basically the same item as before. So now, warriors and assassins are getting best of both worlds, with this item allowing you to be tanky and do damage. And including items like Void Damaru and Void Shield, warriors are getting hella buffed. So now you can expect warriors and assassins rushing Blackthorn Hammer in the near future. Additionally, Hi-Rez has decided for whatever reason that you're allowed to buy as many glyphs as you want. So now you can buy Amulet of the Stronghold, Eldritch Dagger, and Reverent Pridwin, which is disgusting. So although you can do this with any class, I believe with the allowance of every glyph to be bought, tanks and warriors are going to see the most benefit out of this. Now this isn't to say that being able to buy glyphs on other classes won't be OP, but let's be real, all of the best glyphs are for the tanks. But hey, as a hunter you can now buy the new glyph Devoted Deathbringer, which gives you critical strike chance multiplied by 1.3, and more power the more critical strike chance you have over 100%. Very similar to Silver Branch Bow, and a new glyph called Envenomed Executioner, giving you anti-heal and anti-shield, so you can buy both of those items at the same time. So it's not all bad for the other classes, but it's a pretty significant buff for your tanks. And finally, Hi-Rez has gotten rid of the last hit stacking process and changed it to the amount of damage you do to minions and enemies. So for example, Book of Thoth has 100 stacks, and in order to reach max stacks, you need to do a total of 45,000 damage to gods and or minions. So every 450 damage you do, you'll get 1 stack. And this is a good quality of life, as this now opens up more options for builds for mages and hunters, as before it was a lot harder to build stacks, let alone build stacks together as a hunter and a mage at the same time. So expect Book of Thoth to be more meta, along with Transcendence and Warlock Staff. But that's basically all the important changes coming to year 11 that will have a big impact on Joust. If you have any questions, concerns, or if you think I may have missed anything, feel free to let me know in the comment section down below. But that's all I have for you. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching.